I've been driving for Uber and Lyft full-time for 6 years. I've done somewhere north of 18,000 rides. I've seen almost everything you can see from the driver's seat of a car. Drunk passengers, crying passengers, fighting couples, people who forget their wallets, people who try to pay in drugs. One time a woman got in with a live chicken in a cat carrier and didn't explain it, and I didn't ask. I bring this up because I need you to understand that I have a very high tolerance for strange behavior. Almost nothing surprises me anymore. That's what makes the ride I'm about to tell you about different. Because what happened on the night of March 18th of this year was not just strange, it was wrong in a way I have never been able to shake. I was working a Saturday night in a mid-sized city in Ohio, the kind of city with enough bars and restaurants to keep drivers busy until 3 in the morning, but not enough of them to make the work truly profitable. I had been online since 7 in the evening. By 12:30 I was ready to head home. I had decided I was going to take one more ride and then log off for the night. That's usually how it works. You pick a cutoff and then you take whatever the app gives you. The request came in at 12:37. The pickup was at a gas station on the edge of downtown. The destination was an address in a residential neighborhood about 15 minutes away. The fare was decent. The rider's name was Malcolm, 4.9 stars. I accepted and drove over. The gas station parking lot was mostly empty when I pulled in. I saw him before the app told me I had arrived. He was standing near the edge of the lot away from the pumps, with his hands in his jacket pockets. Tall, maybe 6'3", thin build, wearing a navy blue jacket and dark jeans. His face was partially shadowed by the hood pulled up over his head. He walked over as I slowed down and opened the back passenger door and got in. He said thanks for coming, and I said no problem. He smelled faintly of cigarettes, but not strongly. He sat in the middle of the back seat, not behind me, not behind the passenger side, right in the middle. I noticed that because most passengers pick one side or the other, he didn't. He sat centered with his knees apart and his hands folded in his lap. The other thing I noticed about him was that he had no bag, no backpack, no grocery bag, no phone in his hand even though he had just ordered a ride. Nothing. Most passengers have something with them. They're coming from somewhere. They're going to somewhere. They've been shopping or working or out to dinner. He had nothing. His jacket pockets looked empty too, not bulged out with keys or a wallet or a phone. Flat, like he was carrying nothing at all. That detail bothered me at the time, but I brushed it off. I told myself maybe he had left his stuff wherever he was coming from. Maybe he was just traveling light. I was looking for reasons not to be paranoid. I was good at that back then. I pulled out of the gas station and onto the main road. For the first few minutes, he didn't say anything. That wasn't unusual. A lot of passengers just want a quiet ride home. I put on some low music and focused on the GPS. We had about 12 miles to go. The route took us out of the commercial district and into the residential part of the city. Older houses, big trees, streetlights every few blocks, but long dark stretches between them. About 6 minutes in, he spoke for the first time. He said, "Can I ask you something?" His voice was soft and even. I said, "Sure." He asked me how long I had been driving. I told him 6 years. He said, "That's a long time. You must see a lot." I said I do. Then he asked me if I ever got scared. I said sometimes. I said most of the time it's fine, but every once in a while you get a weird vibe from someone, or you take a pickup in a bad part of town and you have to pay attention. He nodded slowly in the rearview mirror and said that makes sense. Then he went quiet again. I kept driving. We had about 5 miles to go. He spoke again. He said, "You're nice. Most drivers aren't." I said, "Thanks." Then he said, "Are your doors locked?" I wish I could tell you that I did the right thing in that moment. I wish I could tell you that I pulled over immediately and told him to get out. But I didn't. I looked at him in the rearview mirror and his expression hadn't changed. He was just looking out the side window as we passed the houses. Calm, composed, like he had asked me about the weather. I said yes. The doors are locked. He said good. Then he said something that made the back of my neck go cold. He said sometimes people try to get in. We had about 3 miles to go. I could have pulled over. I could have told him the ride was over. I could have done a dozen things differently. Instead, I did what a lot of people do when they're confused. I kept driving. I kept telling myself that I was overreacting, that he was a weird guy who said weird things but wasn't dangerous, that in 3 miles I would drop him off and never see him again, and I would laugh about it later with my wife. I kept telling myself all of that, while my body was screaming at me to stop the car. He was quiet for the next 2 miles. I kept watching him in the mirror. He was still looking out the window, not at me, not at the road, at the houses we were passing. His head would turn slowly as we passed each one, like he was counting them or checking something. We turned onto his street. The GPS said we had about 400 feet to go. I started to slow down. He said something that stopped me cold. He said, "Don't pull into the driveway. Stop at the curb 2 houses down." I asked him why. I tried to keep my voice casual. He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "I want to watch the house for a minute before I go in. I want to make sure it's safe." I glanced at the address on the GPS. I glanced at the house we were approaching. It was a 2-story colonial with a wraparound porch and a Honda parked in the driveway. Every light in the house was off. There were no cars on the street. The neighbors' houses were mostly dark too. I pulled up to the curb 2 houses down, like he asked. I put the car in park. I left the engine running. I did not turn around to face him. I kept my eyes on his reflection in the mirror. He didn't get out. He sat in the back seat, staring at the house. I could see the side of his face now that we weren't moving. His jaw was clenched. His eyes were fixed on the front door. His hands were still folded in his lap, but the knuckles were white. We sat there for maybe 40 seconds. Neither of us said anything. Then he asked me a question that I will never forget for as long as I live. He said, "Is there a car in the driveway?" I didn't understand the question at first. I looked at the house. There was a car in the driveway. A Honda. I had already noticed it. I said, "Yes, there's a Honda." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "That's not mine." Something in the way he said it made my stomach turn. The calm had left his voice. It was flat now, hollow, like he was reporting a fact he didn't want to be true. I asked him if he was sure this was the right address. He said yes. I asked him if maybe a family member was visiting or a friend was staying over. He said no. He said he lived alone. He said nobody should be there. I looked at the Honda again. It was dark. No one was in it. The hood wasn't warm that I could see. It looked like it had been there for a while. He reached forward and put his hand on the back of my seat, not on my shoulder, on the back of my seat, just resting there. He said, "Can you wait here for a minute?" He said, "I want to walk up and look in a window first." I said, "I don't think you should go in there." I said, "Maybe you should call the police." He said no. He said they wouldn't come out for something like this. He said he would just look in the window and see if anyone was there. He opened the door and got out. He walked toward the house with his hands in his jacket pockets. Not fast, not slow, just walking like a man on his way somewhere. He went around the side of the house and disappeared. I sat in the car with the engine running and my hands on the wheel. I don't know how long I sat there. 2 minutes, 3, maybe longer. The street was completely silent. No cars, no barking dogs, no televisions flickering in upstairs windows. Just me in the dark house and the Honda that didn't belong. I kept thinking I should leave. I kept thinking that something was very wrong, and that whatever was happening was not something I wanted to be part of. I also kept thinking about what might be happening behind that house, about a man I had never met before, walking into the dark, because he believed someone was in his home who shouldn't be. At some point while I was sitting there, I realized I hadn't heard anything from the side of the house where he had disappeared. No footsteps on gravel, no door opening or closing, no voices, nothing. If he was just looking in a window, I should have heard him moving around. I should have heard him come back into view. But the house was silent, completely silent. I looked at the side yard through my passenger window. There was nothing to see, just a strip of grass and a wooden fence and a sliver of darkness between the house and the neighboring property. I couldn't see where he had gone. I had a moment where I considered getting out of the car to look for him, to walk around the side of the house and see what was taking so long. I don't know why that thought entered my head. It was a terrible thought. It was the kind of thought that gets people killed, but it was there. I remember gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles hurt and talking myself out of it. I told myself whatever was happening in that house had nothing to do with me. I told myself I just had to sit here and wait, and the moment he came back, I would drop him off wherever he wanted and never think about this ride again. I was lying to myself even as I thought it. I already knew I was going to think about this ride every day for the rest of my life. I pulled out my phone and started to dial 911. I had dialed the first 2 digits when the passenger door opened. He got back in. He sat down in the same spot, middle of the back seat, hands folded in his lap. His breathing was slightly faster than before, but not much. I could see now that something was different about him. His jacket had a small streak on the right cuff, dark, like he had brushed against something wet. His right shoe had a smudge of something dark on the toe. I don't know what it was. I couldn't ask. He said thanks for waiting. I asked him what happened. He didn't answer. I asked him if everything was okay. He said yes. He said he must have been wrong about the Honda. He said it was probably a neighbor's guest. He said he would call them in the morning to check. He asked me if I could take him somewhere else. He said he didn't want to go in tonight after all. He said he would stay at a friend's place. He gave me an address about 20 minutes away. I entered it into the GPS. I pulled away from the curb slowly. As we drove away, I glanced at the house one more time. The Honda was still there, but now one of the upstairs windows had a light on. It hadn't been on when we pulled up. It hadn't been on while he was inside. It came on as we were leaving. I didn't say anything. He didn't either. The drive to the second address took 19 minutes. He was silent for all of it except near the end when he said one more thing. He said, "I appreciate your discretion tonight." I nodded. I didn't trust my voice. When we arrived at the second address, he got out and thanked me and closed the door. He walked up to the front door of a small duplex and knocked. Someone opened it. I couldn't see who. He went inside. I drove away. I drove for about 15 minutes before I pulled over at a 24-hour diner and sat in the parking lot trying to decide what to do. My hands were still shaking. I opened the Uber app and looked at the ride details. The trip was marked complete. The tip was 20%. Malcolm had given me 5 stars. I stared at the first address for a long time. The house he told me was his. Then I did something I probably shouldn't have. I searched the address online. The property records showed that the house had been owned by the same woman since 2011, a woman named Diane Bauer, 62 years old at the time. No other residents listed, no husband, no children at the address. I searched her name on Facebook. Her profile was public. Her last post was from 2 months ago. She was smiling in a garden somewhere. The photo had 34 likes. I scrolled down and read some of her older posts. She seemed like a normal person, a retired school administrator, 2 grown children who lived in other states. She posted pictures of her cats. She shared articles about birdwatching. There was no Malcolm in any of her photos. There was no Malcolm tagged in any of her posts. There was no indication anywhere that this woman had any connection to the man I had just dropped off. I thought about calling the police. I started to a few times, But every time I picked up my phone, I realized I didn't know what to say. That a man had asked me to wait while he looked in a window. That he said the car in the driveway wasn't his. That a light came on after he got back in my car. None of that was a crime. None of it was something the police would act on at 1 in the morning. I told myself I would check on her in the morning. I told myself if there was something on the news I would call immediately. I drove home. I didn't sleep. In the morning I searched the local news. Nothing. I searched Diane Bauer's Facebook. Her profile was still up. Her last post was still the one from 2 months ago. I checked every day for the next week. Nothing changed. No new posts. No obituary. No news articles. I started to tell myself I had overreacted, that the guy had been drunk or confused or maybe on something, that the Honda was probably a neighbor's, that the light coming on was a coincidence or a timer. I almost convinced myself. 3 weeks later, I got another ride request. Same pickup area, different gas station this time. The name on the ride was different. It was a common enough name I won't repeat. But when I accepted the ride and started driving toward the pickup, I saw him before the app told me I had arrived. Same jacket, same hood, same tall, thin build. He was standing at the edge of the parking lot, just like before. I stopped about 100 feet away from him. I stared at him through the windshield. He hadn't seen me yet. I canceled the ride and drove off as fast as I could without drawing attention. I drove for about 10 minutes before I pulled over and reported him through the app. I described him and the 2 pickup locations and the address from the first ride. I said I believed he was using the platform to case houses. I didn't have proof. I just had a feeling. Uber sent me an automated response, thanking me for the report. I never heard anything else. I stopped driving at night after that. I cut my hours and shifted to daytime rides only. I lost a lot of income. My wife didn't understand at first. I didn't tell her everything. I just told her nights were getting dangerous, and I wanted to be home in the evenings. She accepted it. I don't think she believed me, but she accepted it. A few months later, I was reading the local paper online, and a headline caught my eye. A home invasion in the neighborhood where I had dropped Malcolm off. Not Diane Bauer's address. A different house, a few streets over. A retired couple in their 70s. The wife had been home alone at the time. The husband had been at a cardiology appointment. 2 men had entered the home through a back door and robbed the place. The wife had been tied up. She had survived, but she had been injured. The article said police were looking for 2 suspects who had been seen on a neighbor's camera earlier in the week, scoping out the property. One of them was tall and thin and wore a dark jacket with a hood. That same week, I did something I had been avoiding for months. I drove past Diane Bauer's house in the middle of the day. I wasn't on the clock. I wasn't taking a ride. I just wanted to see it. The Honda was still in the driveway. It looked like it hadn't moved in weeks. The paint had that dusty film cars get when they've been sitting unused for too long. The grass in the front yard was overgrown. Mail was sticking out of the mailbox. I parked a few houses down and sat there for 20 minutes looking at it. I didn't see anyone go in or come out. I didn't see any lights change. I thought about knocking. I thought about walking up and ringing the bell just to see if anyone answered, but my legs wouldn't let me out of the car. I drove away. I checked her Facebook again that night. Still no new posts, but something had changed. Someone had commented on her most recent post. A woman who said she was Diane's daughter. She had posted asking if anyone had heard from her mother recently, because she hadn't been able to reach her in weeks. The comment was a few days old. A few people had replied expressing concern. Someone suggested calling the local police for a welfare check. The daughter had replied saying she had done that, and the officers who went to the house had found everything normal. No signs of forced entry. No signs of a disturbance. The car was in the driveway. Some mail was piled up, but not in an alarming way. They had not been able to get inside because nobody had answered the door, and they did not have cause to break it down. I stared at that comment for a long time. Everything normal, no signs of forced entry, because of course there wouldn't be. If Malcolm had a key, or knew how to get in without breaking anything, there wouldn't be signs of forced entry. If what had happened in that house had happened quietly, there wouldn't be signs of a disturbance. A retired woman who lives alone and doesn't have a regular job or appointments, or a spouse who would notice her missing immediately. A car in the driveway that nobody would question, an empty house that looks occupied from the outside. I never called anyone. I know I should have. I know there's probably a version of this story where I pick up the phone and tell a detective everything I saw that night, and somehow it helps them catch him. But I also know that I didn't actually see him do anything. I drove a man to a curb. He got out. He walked around a house. He came back. He asked me to drive him somewhere else. Everything else is my imagination filling in the gaps. That's what I tell myself when I can't sleep at night, that I don't actually know anything. But I also know what I saw. I know the Honda was not his. I know the light came on after he got in my car. I know he was at a different gas station 3 weeks later, trying to catch another ride. I know that whatever he was doing that first night, he wasn't doing for the last time, and I know that somewhere in that city, he is still out there ordering rides from drivers who don't know any better, asking them if their doors are locked, asking them to stop 2 houses down from an address that isn't his, watching houses, waiting for the right moment. I still drive, but I don't take rides after dark anymore. Not in that part of the city, not in any part of the city. I don't care how good the pay is. Some money isn't worth what you might be helping with.